Start SCION Day. Thank you for inviting me to here. Thank you for doing this. As someone who's been in incident response for many years, anything that stops incidents is a good thing. We all hear about the cyber shortage. Clearly, we're all overworked. Products such as SCION that stop these things happening, we're fully supportive. We're clearly very much left or right of boom. Things go wrong, that's where we're in. But clearly, a huge interest in stopping that boom happening in the first place. So who am I? And why am I here? And why should you care in any way about what I'm about to tell you? So, sorry, just knock that off. CEO and Executive Director of FIRST. FIRST is the Forum of Incident Response and Security Teams. I've spent many years working in that space. I spent 19 years at Citi, probably the last half of which was in computer forensics and incident response for the bank. And at the time, that was one of the biggest banks in the world. It's gone up and down since, but it was an interesting space. I then left there and worked at CERT UK, so I built the UK's first formally chartered national CERT, so built it and ran that for 3 years, getting an insight from the public sector, from government space as opposed to private sector. I then joined a couple of banks and worked as a CISO, which, apologies to any CISOs in the room, I loathed with a passion. It's not what I do. I don't really enjoy that kind of work. It's not my space. So I did that for a couple of years. Got a lot of insight into what that means, but then when FIRST wanted to hire someone as a professional to actually come and work for FIRST, it was very much a pick-me moment. Very, very interesting. And I've been doing that for 5 years. And we're now 111 countries, 570 teams, talking about incident response, bringing incident response teams together to learn, to help. So, I think I've probably covered most of that. We're a forum. The clue is genuinely in the name. We don't run incidents. We don't manage incidents as FIRST. We bring the teams that manage incidents together. We've been doing it for 35 years. We've grown significantly in that time. We're a very slow growth organization. We don't advertise. We don't go out and do marketing drives. We bring people together in an environment where they can be trusted. People can talk to each other at a technical level and help fix problems. So, what's the root cause? Why are we here? Clearly, those of us who've been around for a long time, and probably all of us otherwise, know that the internet is inherently not secure. It was never designed to be secure. It was designed on a best intentions that everyone was going to play nicely in the sandbox, that there weren't going to be people doing bad things, and it was very much grew slowly in that process. Clearly, that doesn't work. As we've moved critical national infrastructure, we've moved banking, we've moved medical, we've moved all the things we've now put on the internet, as the video showed. That's just the security that's inherently in there is not enough. So we've ended up having to add on security, secure messaging, PGP, encryption, transport layer certificates, all sorts of things to make the internet secure. It is more secure than it's ever been, I would suggest. But it's not universally secure, it's not absolutely secure, and it only takes a few small errors for things to break down. So anything that can help sort of fix those problems at a very high level, such as SCION, I think are really important to me. So why am I really here, though? I'm really here to highlight real-world incidents that have happened in the past few years that the SCION technology could have either mitigated or defeated. So we were going to talk about some of the routing issues that we've seen. Only last month, the White House put out a statement about the inherent weaknesses of the internet and the routings protocols of that just a month ago. We've been running this stuff for 35 years, and we're still having to rely on folks like the White House to raise the profile of that, to get people to understand this is not a secure system. So the first one I wanted to talk about was Pakistan globally hijacking YouTube for about 5 hours. The Pakistan National Court administration decided that YouTube was a bad thing and that people in Pakistan should not be able to watch YouTube. So essentially what do? You sort of, you mull root or dev null or whatever, those addresses within Pakistan. Clearly they made a mistake. They wiped out YouTube for 5 hours. Now, I'm an old man, YouTube passes me by in many ways, but clearly if someone can take your business out for 5 hours from another country, and that could be any business, that could be banks, that could be health, that could be anything you do, someone in another country has the ability to knock you offline for 5 hours. That's the impact we're talking here. The fact that it's YouTube gets it a high profile. But the fact is, all of us should be concerned that all of us can have our business taken offline by someone in another country who we have no control or visibility into. So that's the sort of issue. It was a false instruction that got pushed out onto the internet, which then went around the world in a heartbeat, because that's how it works. Routers talk to routers, routers see stuff, routers reroute and all the rest of it. That's the way the system works. It's not secure. It's not what it's designed. Well, it wasn't designed to be secure. It's doing what it's designed to do, but it can be completely, wipe you out as a business. Took usually off 2 hours on the Sunday because the Hong Kong-based PCCW didn't stop the broadcast. So it just carried on broadcasting that around the world. And again, some of the SCION's technologies of verification of paths and cryptography and so on could have fixed a lot of this. Next one we want to talk about in 2010. So China Telecom incorrectly announced BGP routes that routed huge amounts of traffic through China. Now, it's assumed it was a mistake, it was an 18-minute thing. But what does that mean? It means that all of that traffic, and it actually came from a Swiss company according to the information I can find, all of that traffic went through China. Again, don't forget, we as an internet, we do not do secure stuff, so all clear text emails are going through China. All of your traffic that is not on a secure system, an HTTPS connection, is going through China. All of a sudden, you've got the ability to do mass eavesdropping, again, out of your control. It just happened, and that traffic went the wrong way. That's really quite frightening when you think about some of the things we use the internet for. Now, we put in secure messaging, we do HTTPS, we do all these other things to try and mitigate these issues. But again, all that traffic went through there. If you start looking back through some of the sort of the intelligence agency stuff, just knowing what traffic is going where is interesting. The fact that you can't read it is one thing, but the traffic analysis is still useful. So again, that traffic going through China potentially is there. I mean, they've talked about this as, it was, the report, an academic report, I cannot comment on whether this is true or not, absolutely argued that it was using it for systematically hijacking PGP routes for later analysis. Just as a thought off the top of my head, ally that to quantum decryption and stuff. If they store all that data and then they can decrypt it using quantum technology in the future, if that information has a long lifetime, that's potentially dangerous as well. So you're storing data for future use. Really, really bad. Really not just genuinely not a good thing. Again, something SCION can mitigate, but the fact that this happens out of your control to data that you think you are routing in an ordinary manner is really quite frightening. Next one, BGP leak by Google. Basically routed most CDNs, content delivery networks, through Google's network. So again, they just hijacked that traffic. That traffic is now going through their network rather than the way it was designed to go. Completely blocked or really messed Japanese teams for some reason, really slowed down their access because everything went through Google. It leaked them through an existing peering relationship and became a transit provider instead of an exchange traffic between two networks. Again, you're routing traffic, you're losing control of your data. This brings so many issues into my head about data protection, data privacy, but again, traffic analysis and analysis of that data. Lasted technically about some 10 minutes, but spread very quickly and caused severe damage around persistently slow connections, finance, transport, you're making payments, you're doing stuff. Really, really challenging. Google apologized. That's very kind. But it was an errant networking system. So they're basically saying it was a fat finger error. Someone hit the wrong button, someone typed the wrong number. That's how easy it is to break significant chunks of the internet by someone in that position. I'll go into the next one because we've done that. And then sort of the final, one of the last ones that I've got here. Route 33 BGP, so Amazon's Route 33 DNS service. Essentially hijacked and pushed to a cryptocurrency website, or redirecting a user of that to a phishing site where, in theory, a chunk of money, 150,000 US, I think, went missing. So this was, again, using a standard weakness, well-known weakness in BGP, hijacked that traffic, allowed the attacker to steal 150,000 US from users of crypto. Could have affected up to 1,200 or 1,300 IP addresses, Some of it was routed to Russia, where, according to a UK-based security researcher, the money was stolen. So, again, things are happening that you have no control over, things that you can't stop happening because someone else is doing it to your traffic. Russia Telecom announced routing for, and this is in 2020, so pre-conflict, and announcing BGP routes that led to Google, Amazon, and Cloudflare coming through. So there's people here saying, well, they don't think this is a problem, this was an error, this is a fat finger error again, but, significant problems. BGP-enabled devices advertise and share that data, they then share that further. If it goes wrong, as the routers just trust each other as they work their way around, that's going to cause you those problems. 8,000, 9,000 internet traffic routes, major companies. So this is Russia Telecom is big, but I would say it's not as big as Google and Amazon and Facebook and all these other Cloudflares, yet they were damaged through this problem. Again, just get your mind around the fact that these incidents are happening when you have no control. It's not even your staff making the error, it's someone else doing something that affects your world. Again, potentially, we could have, SCION would have mitigating factors on that one. Facebook, this is always the one that's sort of the poster child for this one in 2021. Facebook, when people couldn't get into their own buildings because their own buildings were connected to the internet through Facebook. And because the Facebook DNS servers had disappeared, they couldn't talk, therefore building control systems went down. So it was about a 5-hour period. He says, squinting at the screen. Yes, 5.5 hours. Essentially a problem in BGP. They withdrew the IP address prefixes for their DNS servers, so nobody could access Facebook, because Facebook on the internet didn't exist as a www.facebook. Cut off their internal communications, so their ability to handle the issues was significantly impacted by the fact that they had the issue. So, this is when, from our point of view, we start talking about, you need separate lines of communications, because if your network's down, you can't use your network to fix your network. The outage cut off their internal and external emails, accessing corporate directory and authenticating, and supposedly unable to access their own buildings because their building control systems had broken down. Now, SCION couldn't prevent some of that, but its multipath routing could have provided different ways of doing things. So again, there's mitigating factors here that we can use, or you guys can use through SCION, that would fix many of these problems. So, the sort of the fundamental conclusion is massive weaknesses in the design of the internet. We've known about those. We as myself first, and the organizations I represent, have been working with those issues for the last 35 years. It is more secure than we thought than it's ever been, but that's because we keep adding more complexity to it, in my mind, and more systems to fix it. And we need to try and break out of that bubble of, here's another product that can fix this little point problem, and things like SCION, which can affect at scale and at a very high level, I think are really positive changes. It's just an ongoing process. We have to keep going and keep going and keep going to fix these problems, to develop these protections and adapt to those threats. That's sort of what I had to say. I'm happy to take as many questions as you've got, clearly. I think we have 5 minutes or so at least of questions. So that's what I wanted to say. We have a problem. The internet is not particularly well designed, but it's evolved to where it is and we have to live with it. We deal with the it's all gone wrong bit, how do we fix that and go back? But if we can put in things like SCION that can then at a higher level, like an actively cyber defense type thing, where we're actively getting involved in defending the internet rather than waiting for it to go wrong, that reduces my problems and makes my teams happier. Having said that, I'm open to questions. God, I'll put this over here.